What's going on, guys? Freddie Finance here, and today in this video I'm going to be going over what an IRA actually is. I'm going to be going over how they got started, what they stand for, some rules you need to follow when investing inside an IRA, and why you should be investing in them. Now let's dive in. So in 1974, the federal government wanted to start incentivizing US taxpayers to save and invest for retirement. So they passed ERISA, which is known as Employee Retirement Income Security Act, and this is the new law that was put into place to set the guidelines behind what the IRA is today. So IRA stands for Individual Retirement Account, and a lot of people that are new to investing think that the IRA is an actual investment in itself, when in reality it's just an account type that has certain rules and tax advantages you have to follow. You have to actually make the actual investments inside the IRA. There are actually about 7 types of IRAs that you can open. All have different rules regarding how they get taxed and who can open them. But the main ones that I want you guys to learn about is the traditional IRA and the Roth IRA. I will be making a full YouTube video in depth on the difference between each of them, but those are the main 2 that I kind of want you guys to get an understanding of, especially when you're first starting out. IRAs can be opened up at any legitimate stock brokerage account, and they can hold traditional investments such as stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, bonds, and even some brokers are starting to offer cryptocurrencies inside your IRAs as well. If you guys are finding this video to be helpful, please don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button. Now, the rules that I am about to be going over are going to mostly pertain to the traditional IRA. The Roth IRA has a little bit different rules in regards to how the money gets taxed and when you can pull the money out. But most of the rules still apply to all types of IRAs. Rule number 1, contribution limits. If we're under the age of 50, the IRS only allows us to contribute $6,000 each year to our IRAs. That applies to a Roth as well. But if you're over the age of 50, you get what's called a catch-up contribution, and you can contribute up to $7,000 each year. Rule number 2, contributions to a traditional IRA are tax deductible in that year. So for instance, if you're making $100,000 for the year, but you contribute $6,000 to your IRA, in reality, that $6,000 that goes into your traditional IRA can get taken off your income taxes for that tax year. So instead of making $100,000 that year, you in reality made $94,000 because you can subtract that $6,000 from your income when you file your taxes. Rule number 3 is all investments inside the IRA grow tax deferred. And I'm not even sure if this is considered a rule, but more of an advantage, because in a non-IRA account, anytime you buy a stock and then sell it for a profit, that's called a capital gain, and you have to pay taxes on that. But the reason why the IRA is called tax deferred, because you never have to pay any capital gains tax when you're buying and selling inside the IRA account. And that makes it so advantageous to people, and that's why everybody should be opening up at least one IRA. Rule number 3 is the reason why that the federal government sets that $6,000 contribution limit each year. Not paying capital gains on the stocks you buy and sell makes you save so much money over the long term. But that brings me to rule number 4, which is all the withdrawals that come out of the IRA are considered ordinary income tax. The federal government's going to collect their tax one way or the other. So usually when you buy and sell stocks, that's known as capital gains. And long-term capital gains are taxed at a much more favorable rate than short-term, which is just like making income, ordinary income. But the reason why that the withdrawals are taxed as ordinary income is because versus long-term capital gains tax, the ordinary income tax is going to be higher. So again, the federal government is going to do what they do and collect their taxes. And rule number 5 is the RMD, which is known as the required minimum distribution. And that means that the federal government makes us take money out of the IRA at age 72. Again, they're going to do what they do and collect their taxes, so they're going to make us take money out a certain percentage of our IRA account each year, which is known as the RMD. And the 6th and final rule that I want to go over is the early withdrawal penalty. The earliest we can withdraw from our IRAs without any penalty is 59.5. But if we pull money out before 59.5 and it's not considered a qualified distribution, we're going to be paying a 10% penalty on the earnings of our IRA. So the money you put in is not going to get penalized, but the growth from that money inside your investments gets an extra 10% penalty tax for taking it out early. Now, there are a few exceptions to take it out early, such as a first-time home purchase, if you become permanently disabled, or if you have medical expenses that came up out of the blue. So there are three main reasons that I want you guys to think about on why you should be investing in an IRA as soon as you can. One, the tax advantages that you get inside that account. You will not get that type of tax advantage in any other investment account, so be sure to be taking advantage of it as much as you can. Two, depending on the type of IRA, you can either create tax-free income when you retire, which is inside the Roth IRA, or if you're contributing to a traditional IRA, you can lower your taxable income by $6,000 each year. And the third reason on why you should be investing inside an IRA as soon as possible is because it really does help you start saving and thinking about retirement because of that early withdrawal penalty. A lot of people are not too disciplined with their money and sometimes make rash decisions, but the 10% penalty for pulling it out early is a great incentive for all of us to keep our money in for the long term and take advantage of compound interest. If you've made it to the end, thank you for watching, and if you know more about IRAs than you did before watching this video, leave a comment, drop a like, hit that subscribe button, especially if you want more financial content like this. I'll see you guys next time.